Yeah, I think one of my earliest musical memories was that of recognizing what composing is. I was very young. I think I was like 4 or 5, and I remember playing on a piano, and I said, oh, I get it. Oh, you know, it's like, I recognized just how notes, what they mean on paper. I didn't understand how to do it, but there was a recognition of hearing music and seeing it on paper, you know? And with that recognition came the reality that I can do that. I can, anybody can, you know? You can create these incredible tapestries of sound if you understand the language. Because the language of writing and composing, it's academics, right? And there's a lot to know. And what was interesting to me was I understood it. There wasn't anything else I really understood. You know, I wasn't good at virtually anything. But that idea of composing was clear to me. And if I, like for instance, I wanted to be able to compose for the harp really well. And I studied every little thing about it. The pedals, the reach, how, you know, how a harpist, I interviewed harp players, you know, and I can compose for harp very well, you know, very good parts. And I can do that for every instrument in the orchestra.
Yeah,
I can't play any of them. But you just have to know the rules, you know? So this is the tools that I knew I required in order to paint these tapestries. And of course, I knew that I needed to understand musical theory. And when I was in high school, Joe and I had this amazing musical teacher, Bill Westcott, and he taught music theory. And I was able to get into the class in 7th grade by cutting a deal. They needed a tuba player in the orchestra, because it was a 12th grade class. And I said, and they came to me, they said, we need a tuba player. Would you play this? I said, I'll take up the tuba in 7th grade and play if you allow me to take this class. So I took this class from 7th grade through 12th grade, and Bill was tough. He was really great. I mean, you'd get an assignment, come in tomorrow with a piece of music, and not like chord change, you know, this is a C and then a melody. You had to write it out. And I started to compose, and he was teaching me, and I wrote my first musical score in high school for the high school orchestra. It was an abysmal disaster, you know? But I was so fascinated with that. One of the things I wasn't doing was taking that, all of that musical theory seemed like it belonged in the bag of Steve the composer. But when I discovered rock and roll, and that was it. I lit up when the guitar, I mean, that was everything. And then I started taking lessons with Joe. Right. And, you know, I was learning the blues scale and all the basics and everything, but I was not connecting the dots from what I was learning with Bill Westcott with the guitar. They were kind of separate from me. But Joe taught me how to apply the theory I was learning in Bill's class on the guitar. So thank you very much.
Yeah, that was
Bill Westcott.
Yeah.
I tell you, one of the things that Bill taught me that I was able to turn on to Steve and the rest of the students that I had was being able to get the music inside. And every great musician that I've ever been lucky to sit down and talk to and ask questions about, they all pretty much get around to that. The music has to come from inside of you. So how do you get it inside? So Bill's suggestion to me, this really long-haired, skinny kid who listened to Black Sabbath and Zeppelin and everything, was, why don't you write out numerically the scales and the modes, here are the names, put the numbers on one side, and go find a place and sing them, and see if you can teach yourself to sing each one of these, well, about 17 scales, correctly. And I was so embarrassed to do it in my house or in front of anyone. So we lived near the Northern State Parkway, which is a freeway that had these strips of teeny park along the side. Crazy idea, Long Island idea. Anyway, but you'd hardly see anybody, and there was a roar of traffic all the time. So that's where I used to go with these flashcards. And I used to sing Phrygian dominant, Hungarian minor, just try to get these scales in my head. But it really did work, because then when I would sit down at the piano and I'd hit like an E, and I'd sustain it, I would try out this stuff. And I started to edit it from the inside out. Not the outside in, not looking at the fingering, saying this is cool, I look cool, that looks cool, it must be cool. It was the opposite. It's like, is this the right sound? What's it make me feel like? When would I use this scale? How would it affect the audience? And this was Bill's sneaky way of teaching us music and how to compose, by getting the music inside of us first, and then having our emotions and our minds decide when to use all these notes and chords.